Hello, this is Johnny from Funny Looking, and today we're talking about getting revenge on petty neighbours. Now it's quite warm here today, and normally I'd open a window, but it's a bit difficult. I mean, first of all, there's like the noise that's coming from outside, and the last time I've opened a window, I had 10 mosquitoes coming in, a couple of moths, and a Jehovah's Witness climbed through the window. And I'm like, don't you need an invitation to come in? What for? Because you're like a vampire, you're a blood-sucking parasite, get out of my house. They just keep crawling through. So if the window's closed, I'm burning up, but it's better than the alternative. So first up, my wife and I had a neighbour who hated us because our family friends who went through a divorce lived there before us, and we bought the house. They were mean to my wife, parked across our driveway when she was about to go to work, threw pieces of wood over our fence and let their dog crap on our lawn without picking it up. I tried talking to them a couple of times and was promptly told to F off. Well, they're more polite than I was. It actually says fuck. The husband used to brag about his lawn to everyone. So the next time it rained, I threw an entire box of bouillon cubes into their backyard and let the rain melt into the grass. Their dog absolutely destroyed their yard looking for the smell, and I would make sure to comment on it every chance I got. Oh, that's beautiful. But that's nasty. You can't just treat someone like that because they happen to be living next door to you. They've been civil to you. They asked you politely. You get what you deserve. My house is right in the corner of an area where the road turns into a T. I had issues with people cutting the corner and driving through my yard. One day someone damn near hit my dog. Oh no. I went and bought a boulder, probably 300 or 400 pounds. I'm going to actually translate that to kilograms for you UK based and other people that use the real system. It's between 135 kilograms to 180 kilograms. That's a fair weight. Went and bought a boulder, probably 300 or 400 pounds, and put right in the corner. Come winter, we had a bad snowstorm. Someone was coming through in a lifted Dodge and hit the boulder going about 20 and totaled the truck. Since then I've had zero issues with people. That actually works. Anybody has got that problem. Because there was a pub that had people driving through the car park to try and cut corners. And they put a boulder there. And they've had one crash and everybody else learned their lesson. It works. But good luck carrying that home. I had a terrible work schedule and had to wake up at 2:30 AM to be at work by 4 AM. My downstairs neighbours would blare loud music at all hours of the night, and I could feel the bass through my mattress. This big spongy thing, I could still feel the vibrations through that. That's horrible. I went downstairs and politely asked them to turn it down. Just in case you didn't know what a mattress was, I thought I'd fill you in. I went downstairs and politely asked them to turn it down, and they seemed to kindly agree. As soon as they got back in bed, they turned it up even louder and kept it going until about 1:30. Oh, dicks. Before I left for work at 3:30, I turned over my amplifier so the speaker was facing the floor, turned the volume up and set my guitar on top of it. I left my 12-hour shift and the feedback was still screaming when I came home. The neighbours never blared their music again. Oh, if any of you have ever heard feedback from a guitar, like when you get too close to the amp and the pickups on the guitar picks up it's a constant loop, and that's what causes that screeching noise. It is nasty, it's horrible. Imagine that for 12 hours. I can't stand it for 12 seconds. No, you'd learn your lesson the hard way. It's again, you tried diplomacy, it didn't work, be the bigger dick. It sometimes works. Friend had a neighbour who put in a very bright yard light and that was pointed directly at her bedroom window. After a negative interaction when asking neighbour to re-aim or dim the light, cue theatre stagehands. She put up a parabolic mirror pointed directly at dude's bedroom, used an old projector dowser and an old lighting board to program a chase sequence that was hours long and repeated. The end result was a beam of randomly blinking light that was aimed at neighbour's bedroom window. When he complained, she let him know that it was his own light source and all he had to do was turn off his own light. Now that's clever. That's a lot of work. And the thing is, that's just feeding his own bad shit back at him. It's brilliant. We briefly had a neighbour who was a complete jackass. My personal pet peeve was when he would yell at our kids to shut up while they were playing in the backyard. Next to his driveway was a big tree, and I noticed he'd throw occasional hissy fits over the birds crapping on his car. One week, he was out of town, but his car was still in the driveway. Each day I put a heaping pile of berries, blueberries, strawberries, etc., next to the tree. He returned home to a car absolutely covered in Technicolor bird poop. It's like Joseph in the multicoloured bird poop. That's a story I've not heard before. Funny story. One time I was on a bus and I heard these two little girls at the back of the bus talking loudly. And one couldn't have been more than about 5 and the other one was about 9. You know, the age where they think they know everything in the world. And there was this just outburst from her. You don't know who Moses is? No. Moses in the rainbow jacket, do you not know him? No. And I had to get off the bus a few stops early because I was biting my fist, dying not to laugh. Don't do it! Don't! No! Go! 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 Driver! Driver! No! I got off the bus and just buckled with laughter at this whole idea of Moses parting the sea in a rainbow jacket looking fabulous. I hope the sun baked it. I hope the sun came and just dry baked that crap all over the car. You get what you deserve. It's just, you don't shout at somebody else's kids. I know kids can be annoying. I pass annoying kids. And it's just like, they're not my problem, they're not my kids. Let the parents deal with it. Don't take matters into your own hands if you're not the parent. Unless their life is at risk, it's not your problem. Walk away. Our neighbours are constantly fighting. We'd get drunk every weekend and blasted loud music until 4 AM. Well, the girlfriend went out of town for a week for a work training, and we saw another girl park outside the house while she was gone. We heard the new girl and the boyfriend going at it very loudly too. They were dancing. They were just dancing. So the next time they were being super loud at 2 AM, we went over to ask them to turn down the music. I told you they were dancing. They both yelled at us to mind their own business. My wife casually asked, "Oh, did you get back together? What about that nice blonde girl who was over all last week? Is this a throuple situation now?" And then we went home and enjoyed listening to them throwing everyone out and having a last fight. They were dancing. Just dancing. My grandmother had a neighbour who refused to help her repair the fence between their properties. It was still functional but falling apart. Still functional and falling apart is my life motto. That is, how are you doing? Well, I'm still functional but I'm falling apart. It's just... Any conversation about fixing the fence ended with him saying that it was on her property, it was her fence, and therefore she was fully responsible. My grandmother took a fall and was hospitalised for a few weeks, only to return home and find a new fence built an extra 5 feet into her property. What? And a bill in the mail from her neighbour. He argued with her for months that she owed him, that the original fence was on his property, and that where it was now was a boundary line. My grandmother got a surveyor and surprise, the original fence was correct and the neighbour had taken 5 feet off of her yard. At this point she was very old, frail and tired of fighting her asshole neighbour. I ain't censoring that. You should call him as it is. He's an asshole. I'm not censoring that. Instead she let nature take over. She planted blackberries along the back fence, and within 2 years it was covered. Every year she'd walk the fence and throw seeds over because, of course, it was still her yard. After 5 years of fighting, the blackberries have declaimed her property. She's been gone for a few years now, but the blackberries remain, her way of haunting her neighbour. He's tried ripping up the ones on his side of the fence on numerous occasions, but the plants reseed themselves and grow back every year from her side. Old people have great wisdom. They will get the last middle finger. Even beyond the grave, they play a long, long game. They have patience. They have wisdom. You don't mess with them. They'll beat you. And that's amazing. Well done to your grandmother. Well done. My mother's neighbour called the city to demand my mother repair the fence that divided their yards. This lady has been a crab apple for 10 plus years, but this move pissed my mother off. I've never heard anybody being called a crab apple before. I'm going to add that one to my list of insults. It's like, what? I like how it's just a mild insult. Oh, fuck off, you crab apple. It's like a total mix of insults. You know? The fence did need mild repairs, but my mother was already in the process of getting quotes to fix it, and would have done it if the neighbour had just talked to her. When the city contacted my mother and said she had to maintain the fence, she asked if she legally had to have a fence. Turns out there are rules about maintaining a fence, but not requiring you have one. So my mother paid a contractor to tear it down entirely. The neighbour asked my mother when the new fence would be built, and she said, "You want a fence? Build it yourself." A couple of weeks later, my mother had a nice new fence courtesy of one annoying neighbour. Well, he did what he was told, he built his own fence, and now he can get over it. Well, that's the end of this video. If you have an entertaining story about getting revenge on somebody, let me hear about it, and it may be in the next video.